Okay, so I'm going to run you through this brand design I've done for a drone company. And here you can see the finished word mark, which is AERIS. And as you can see there, I've got my presentation board. It goes right through from creating the word mark, right through to the color scheme and final design of the website. So this was the brief for this hypothetical brand. So the client introduction: we are a team of aerospace engineers and thermal imaging specialists based in Zurich. We've developed a proprietary autonomous drone system specifically for high altitude search and rescue. Our tech can identify a human heat signature through dense tree cover in the sub-zero temperatures. Tasks that usually take ground teams hours, our drones do in minutes. We have the hardware, patents, and all the software is in beta. But we are currently invisible in a market dominated by generic consumer drone giants like DJI. Our main pain point is that we lack professional authority. Right now, we look like a university lab project. We are approaching government contracts and international coast guards, but our current identity is just a placeholder font. We need to move from a tech startup with a drone to an essential aerospace partner. So I'll leave a link to the Bolt system in the description so you can go get that on Etsy. So this is what I've done. I've dragged all my files in. I've got my brief, got my Bolt system proposal and the guidelines. I've dragged all that in and I've said, please run my brand design AI system for the brief attached, making sure it's followed stage by stage. I've also uploaded the brand design documents for quick turnaround at the branding stage. Brand strategy stage, I should say. Read and understand all before proceeding. Transitioning to stage 1, strategy and keywords, which is the core of any brand design project. So it came up with 4 keywords, which are accurate, the geometry must feel technical and calculated; thermal, a nod to the proprietary sensor tech, which is their sort of USP of this company; steadfast, the identity must feel heavy and stable. It conveys reliability in high altitude winds and extreme environments. Rescue, the primary emotional driver. The brand isn't there to watch, it's there to find and save. This dictates high visibility functional accents. So in super quick time, using my Bolt system, it's come back and it's auto-populated the brand proposal, laying out the challenge and the objectives, the scope of the work, and the costing, just a hypothetical costing for this project. So as you can see there, it's got AERIS brand proposal has been populated and generated based on the Bolt V24 framework. So keywords are locked and the precision is in the extreme, moving away from toy-like consumer aesthetics towards mission-critical target audience, professional emergency services, coastal guards, and enterprise imaging specialists. So we go on to gate 3 now, strategy, approval, and move to visuals. So then Bolt proceeds to say, in this phase, we move from the keywords to technical form per Bolt V24 system. We must now solve the app first requirement, creating a mark that maintains authority at 16 pixels while feeling rugged enough for hardware. And the next move will be concept generation. So I'll now generate the initial visual concepts for these territories. So by visualization, I mean that the Bolt system is visualizing these actual keywords into visual form. So there's a few there that caught my eye initially. As you can see there, some really interesting concepts all around these keywords: accurate, thermal, steadfast, rescue. It went on to the thermal concepts and then on to more of these like negative space type ideas, all the way through to these concepts. And I particularly like the representation of this Google Maps symbol here. And where do we go from there? So and then it generated more like that. Loads and loads of ideas, and I particularly like this one. Had the mountain symbol there in the shield. And then what I asked was, again, basing around wing shapes and drone shapes, but minimal. So these are ultra minimal. So then what I did was I had a play around in Illustrator, and I came up with these fonts. This one here and this one, and I quite like this one here. This is where I started exploration. So I'm going to jump into Illustrator now and just show you how that sort of played out. So if we move into Illustrator now, we can see that initially I just started listing all these fonts and playing around with different fonts, and also dragging in a few of the icons that I liked. As you can see here, I've sort of picked the best of the bunch really. And then on to the next stage, I just started putting the symbols over the word mark and seeing what it looked like. And my initial thoughts were the drone actual wing shape, as if it's a front-on view, and the Google Maps type mark there, indicating where a potentially injured person is out in rough terrain maybe. And then these, also the drone over the mountains, which I thought was a little complicated. But moving on, as you can see, I've developed it into more of this drone wing symbol. I thought this one looked a little bit too much like a face. The bolt system created me the color scheme. Out of 3, I chose this one. They're sort of orange and white, yellow and black. And then we've got landed with this idea, and I'm just sort of building up some brand assets. As you can see here, we've got this drone in the background, this symbol. And then moving on to there. So now is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. I started getting these, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 concepts, and started just playing with these ideas, like this symbol here, this eye sort of symbol here, and this one here. Obviously this constitutes as an eye and also can be perceived as the Google Maps icon symbol. And I kept it as it was, moved the eyeball further down, or the map symbol if you want to call it that, and incorporated it into the A letter. So I settled on this word mark. Reason being was I thought these symbols started to moving away from the concept we're trying to create with this brand. We're trying to stay away from the generic wing shape and the drone shape, because it's almost too literal. The word mark would be a lot better, just nice and simple, but this took a lot of getting to this point, so it was a lot of trial and error. So as you can see, I slightly rounded the corners. I made sure the kerning was equal across the letters spacing, so it's exactly the same width to keep all the kerning correct. So going back to the starting slide, as you can see, we've got the mock-up up here at the top. We've got the drone surrounded by the emergency services with AERIS quite subtly crafted into the background of the actual picture here. And then I've got my logo construction there, how the A contains a subliminal downward facing eye, referencing the aerial perspective and GPS map pin precision. So the eye will be looking down. Then we've got the Google Maps symbol, and everything's looking geometrically aligned. Steadfastness, the geometric construction of the letter forms communicates structural authority and dependability. Precision location, the circular counter with the A mirrors a GPS map pin, directing references. AERIS's core purpose, locating people with pinpoint accuracy from altitude in conditions where ground teams cannot reach. And then aerial perspective, read from altitude. The A functions as the downward facing eye, the drone's viewpoint. And then engineered geometry, every letter form is constructed on a strict modular grid, precision engineered, not decorative, the same discipline applied to the drone hardware. So then we go into the colors for the actual website idea, and then some nice pictures of a drone. Then we got the mock-up of how the website could look, and obviously if I was doing this for a client, I'd have this logo quite a bit bigger. And we've got the thermal imaging map there, showing the prospective client what the drone images would look like, and then all the way through to the next actual mock-up there. So that's basically it, how I came to the AERIS logo, or the AERIS logo word mark, I should say. And if you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments, or any criticisms of anything you think I could have done better. I think I hit the mark there really by taking away the actual drone symbol that was above the word mark, because it just looked too literal, and whereas this can be paired up with good mock-ups like this on the website and look like a solid brand.